5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome, everyone, to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is a podcast where my co-hosts and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together at a gracious podcast host. Today we are back at Higher Gravity Summit Park, and we give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. Now, hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other podcasts. We shall see. And so far,
we're back on like a 2-week-ish streak.
Yeah, back on a pretty good streak. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I'm glad. We'll see. I
Lost
think,
your train of thought there?
No, yeah, it's weird.
Happens.
It's like the sun's out and the doors are open and all the allergens are flying around, and
Like literally, we're watching the allergens.
yeah, we're
float
just
through
watching floating around. And for whatever reason, I just had to take a moment, and I don't know, whatever. Anyways,
Enjoy life.
And yes, I am Marco. I'm a taproom manager here locally, and that other voice you heard belongs to the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I'm Julia. I do a lot of things. That's all I got. That's
Do a lot of things.
short, sweet, and
So
to the
many
point.
things.
Yes.
Actually, it's so many. It's so difficult to count, especially if you need to take off your shoes to count. But yes, you do a lot of amazing things, and being the best co-host in Podcastlandia is just one of them. Although at the very top of the list, it's just one of them. Today, we are very happy that we have a guest, and this is not a first-time guest, so
Nope.
I will introduce this guest. Today, we are happy to have
Caroline!
from the Craft Parenting Pod. Welcome, Caroline.
Back.
I am glad that I could be here.
It's been a while since you've been on our show on
It
your
has.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the only other time that you've been on your show? You've been on your show. Wow. Don't even know what's happening anymore, and
Well,
we've
we're
just
gonna get
gotten
to that.
started.
We're going to get to that.
Sunday night we recorded an episode, so I was on my podcast 2 days ago.
Okay. All right. Good.
Good.
So I think and I could be misremembering this, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Was the only other time that you were on our show just by yourself and not as part of another bigger group was back at BC's when you were still in the boot?
Possibly.
Think so? I know. I'm trying to think.
I
of
mean,
like,
well, I visited for your guys' birthdays.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what I failed to mention earlier is that we actually have a sitter, and Joe is in the process of hiding Smirnoffs throughout your guys' houses right now.
Wonderful.
So have
Fantastic.
fun with that one when you get
Oh,
home.
man.
Wake up in the morning to go get your nice glass of orange juice, and
And
nope,
look,
now I gotta
it's
chug
an
this
ice.
ice.
To anybody who thought that ritual was dead, Joe and Caroline are trying to keep
They're keeping it alive. Oh my God. I'm just gonna make my Josh open the fridge and all cabinets and all drawers until the end of time, basically, is what this boils down to. Well, thank you so much for coming up here and joining us. It's always awesome to have you on the show. You are so much fun, and
Oh, geez.
Uh-oh. You good?
I'm throwing stuff all over the place. Yeah, I'm good.
I
My
mean, I
phone
know
may
you're so
not be. We'll find
excited
out.
to be here, but you don't need to throw everything
Like,
around.
let's throw shit.
I mean, this is my first time being at Summit Park, and I didn't know that the high school here and like the high school, elementary school, middle school were so well funded that they had a giant egg drop tower in the middle of the park.
Yes, they really, really do. Is this your first time to Summit Park, period, or just the Summit Park, Higher Gravity Summit Park?
Summit Park, period.
Oh, it's so,
I do not
it's
get out
so
to Blue
great.
Ash that often.
It is so great. You need to bring Joe and the kids up here, get some Dora beverages.
That's the
and then
goal.
just yes.
That and visit as many splash pads that are indoors as possible. this
Indoor
summer.
splash pads. Okay.
Yeah.
No, indoras.
Oh, I thought you said indoor splash pads. I'm like, there's got to be a lot of germs
That's
there.
called a
Where,
bathroom.
where I can,
Right?
Ew. I just grossed myself out.
while one of us can get mildly intoxicated while we're trying to make sure the kids don't get concussions.
That's good.
Sounds fair. Sounds very fair. Well, this is a beer pot. Well, actually, Marky, do you want to do the disclaimer before we get too into the weeds here?
Sure. As you listen to this, all the thoughts and opinions are ours and ours alone, meaning Julie and I, and they do not reflect any entity which we may be affiliated with, such as our full-time jobs or Higher Gravity itself. Any communication that you'd like to have with us, we will tell you at the end of the podcast on how to reach out to us, good, bad, or indifferent. And so...
And Caroline's on her own.
Caroline can speak for herself.
I mean, if there's any thoughts or opinions that I share that you don't like, it's all Julia's fault. So.
Very good.
It's not wrong. Not wrong.
Very good. And after that, leading into one of the most important parts of this podcast, no craft beer podcast would be a good craft beer podcast if we were not having craft beer.
Yeah.
And so let's see.
Or craft beverages. I mean, sometimes we have things that aren't beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's other things.
Yeah.
Other things.
Just enjoying a drink together. That's what it all really boils down to.
Yes. So guess first.
Okay, so I am currently drinking a chocolate tacos milk stout. I don't remember who
Sounds
makes
good.
it, and I can't read it because the text is too small, and apparently I'm old.
It's from Highwire.
It is from Highwire.
Highwire. It's part of their 10W40 series, I believe.
Yes, and it is delicious, and I am so glad that I got this. I will probably still get ice cream on my way home, but this is scratching that itch.
Very good.
Gold Spoon Creamery right next door. It is delicious.
You can come with me, Marco.
I could. I just couldn't eat anything.
Eat anything there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be around it. Like it's not, it's not going to harm me that way. Julia, what you drinking?
I am drinking a sour ale from Little Fish Brewing called Guava Reinheitsgebot.
Very good.
Instead of Reinheitsgebot.
I got it.
Even though I don't know how closely related to the German purity law sour ales are. Like if there's...
So...
I don't know. It's good.
It's probably what the what's for.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just thinking like sours in general.
If it's a Goza, technically...
It would fall under...
It falls under the Reinheitsgebot. But the guava immediately kicks it out.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
now I could be totally wrong, but the Goza, I think, that's because the water profile where they're getting it from is that sort of salinic. We add salt, which is not an approved
that's right. I'm like
adjunct
salt.
from the Reinheitsgebot.
Okay.
I think it's one of those gray areas, but not being a member of the Reinheitsgebot
Secret
Council.
Society. Yes.
council.
Yes.
I don't get to make those rules.
Fair enough. It's good. I'm really enjoying it. And Marco, how about you?
I'm having a Rainbow Road from 50 West.
Very nice. Enjoyable.
It is.
Good. Very
Yeah,
good.
tasty.
Are you going
right.
to fall off the bridge, or are you going to be okay?
Depends on if I throw a shell at him or not. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a video game reference, if you were not aware.
No, not at all. I was just going to roll with it. I figured the best idea is fake it till you
Just
make
smile
it.
and nod, like, yep, sure,
till you
absolutely.
make
We
it.
got this.
Yeah.
We got this. All right, let's talk about some podcasts. Let's see if we have 5 different shows that we're going to talk about tonight. So let's see who has listened to what.
What?
We have the, you know what? Screw it. I'm doing it early. The Dayton Brewcast.
All right.
Cheers.
Everyone.
Cheers.
So we always cheers when we say the name of Cincy Brewcast incorrectly for all of you playing the drinking game at home.
Yes, very good. With Blake the Brewery Explorer. We have kind of tied to that this week's The Weekly Pint. All right.
TWP.
We have a new episode of Hustle and Brews, or kind of a slight spin-off of Hustle and Brews. Excellent. We have the Craft Parenting Podcast, where Caroline and I talk bottle shops.
I
Yeah.
did not listen to that one.
You didn't listen to that one? She just erased from her memory. She left and
I didn't
went.
remember what we talked about.
Well, we will remind you. How about that?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And then we will also just kind of do a quick cover over Brews Guys Happy Hours, the Barstool's Perspective YouTube channel, YouTube show, YouTube video thing. Their
Yep.
weekly beer news and review.
Yep.
All right.
I'm all in. I got that.
Excellent.
I missed one of them, but I won't tell you which one it was.
Craft Parenting Pod.
Oh, that's right. I did already say it. Dang it.
Man, we're on to you. Well, as our guest, where do you want to start?
Why don't we start off with the Hustler Brews? The
All right.
new
Yes.
but not new edition.
Hustler and Brew.
No, this is Hustler Brews.
Hustler Brews.
Yeah, so this is a spin-off. What we're all trying to say, and we're almost there. Hustle and Brews is doing a new kind of spin-off, not really series. It's all going to be in the same podcast feed from what I can gather.
That's what I gathered
It'll
as well.
just be individual episodes kind of popped into it called Hustlers Brews. This is Hustle and Brews episode 23. Hustlers Brews with Anthony Tank Mansfield, Rants and Rabbit Holes, which I know, well, Marky, you weren't able to try it because you weren't sure about the lactose content, right?
I think I did.
Or did you try a bit of it?
I
don't
did
remember.
have it.
Okay. Just not like a full
No.
pour. Okay.
No.
And then, Carolyn, did you and Joe get a chance to try it before it disappeared? It
Well,
was.
Joe
Joe
was
should
with us.
have because he was there.
Right,
I
right.
totally
I just
missed
can't
it. He didn't
remember.
bring any home.
What an asshole.
I know.
Ah.
Yeah, that's.
You know what the J in Joe stands for? Asshole.
That tracks. I am very proud of your spelling abilities, Marco.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the J's just silent. You never knew.
Yeah.
Silent J.
Yeah, silent J. Let's see, the series Hustlers Brews. I don't know why that's hard for me to say, but for whatever reason it is. It's going to be highlighting a local hustler, or I'm sorry, Marco, a local hustler baby who collabs with a local brewery. So I think that's going to be a really fun kind of mini series to keep an eye out for. It'll actually fall a little more in line with the podcast that we typically cover.
Right.
Because a lot of the Hustle and Brews episodes are more focused on the entrepreneurship and the business and not necessarily the beer. So,
Hey, we're at a brewery drinking these awesome beers, but let me talk about you and what you do with your life and how
sure.
you got here.
Which, nothing wrong with it. They're always great episodes. I always really enjoy listening to them. They just don't always tie as close into the concept of our show as this particular one would.
Right.
Let's see. Tank hosts the What You Into podcast, and he's a local artist. Which the What You Into podcast, I absolutely love. At first, I'm going, this is a long one. I mean, most of the episodes are 2 hours
2
or
hours,
more.
yeah.
But all the conversations he has are incredibly engaging. They're funny. I learn a lot of new stuff about a lot of new things. So I am very glad that I got turned on to that. He collaborated with High Grain Brewing for their Rants and Rabbit Holes Double Juicy IPA.
Which he was the one that got to help design because he was
Yes.
originally I don't sure we can put my stuff on it, but you guys know what you're doing. You guys do you.
And then they kept going, no, this is all you. And he's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
what have I gotten myself into?
So we were talking about how he was
Yes.
making the beer.
Yes.
And he was like, oh my goodness.
Right, he thought that they wanted to do a collaboration where it's, oh, hey, give us some of your artwork. We'll put it on the can as kind of a way to help promote your podcast, our brewery, that type of thing. And then they're like, no, here's the template for our label. And he's like, okay, cool, I can put my artwork on it. What's the beer going to be? And they looked at him and went, all you. You have to pick out the hops, the malts, the yeast, the water profile. And he went, oh, shit, I don't know any of this stuff.
I mean, they at least held his hand. And from what I can tell, he didn't accidentally drop anything too early or too late. So it turned out as intended.
Yeah, which was a really, really good beer. I really enjoyed it. I found a lone single at Country Fresh Market a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
The very last one, and it held up. It still tasted absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome.
Some of the things in this episode, you find out what an not an instrumental. This thing's drying my mouth out.
Ah.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. You can find out what an instructional designer is.
Yeah. He super went in depth to that.
Yeah, and I was listening to that going, holy shit, that's the kind of stuff that I want to do. So he may have given me a new career path to work towards.
I have some college professors that needed that.
Yeah.
To try to figure out how do you actually write a test and not have it super suck.
Right. Let's see. Talked about figuring out the artwork for the label. One of the things that we already covered there. How much creative control Tank had with the beer, which was, again, it was absolutely phenomenal how he and Matt Utter were talking, and Matt's just kind of like, no, this is 100% you. So to me, it was almost more of a takeover than a collaboration. Like High Grain still made sure that it kind of fit within what they could do, the things that they wanted to see, but they basically went.
Well, it sounded like they super trusted him too, because from what he was saying, he hangs out there a lot.
Right.
He does artwork for them occasionally.
Right.
And they're like, hey, you do cool things. We're going to do this cool thing together. Why don't we do an even more amazing thing together?
Right.
And you get to have more of your creative control in it versus just, hey, we're a brewery, we're going to do what breweries do.
Right. Super cool. I mean, he sounded like it was one of the highlights of what he's been doing in the kind of craft beer space, both as a drinker, as someone who is an enthusiast about craft beer, and as an artist. I mean, it was like a different level of creativity that he was able to tap into that I don't know if he was even aware that he had.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone said to me, oh, yeah, let's make a beer with you, what hops you want in it? I don't know.
Let me Google some hops.
Right.
And then figure out which ones are the ones that I like.
Yes. I will say his recap of the brew day was absolutely fantastic. Loved that part of the episode. Don't want to dive too much into it because this is an episode that you guys need to listen to. I mean, should listen to all of the Hustle and Brews episode, but this one for certain. And they kind of ended with a little cliffhanger question.
Right.
Are brewers wizards?
I can see it.
It wasn't quite the question I thought you were going at. That's fine. They did mention that.
Yeah.
Some of the similarities that they were drawing, I'm like, they very well could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found a lot of similarities between podcasters in this.
Yeah.
I feel like there's good 50-50 mix, because if you hang out with Matt Damaris, he loves to talk. If you hang out to some other podcasters, which apparently the Tank is in that list, they're like, yeah, I don't really talk much unless if I have a microphone in front of me, because I'm not really a very talkative person.
Right.
And then you got that small peek behind the curtain of, I have forgotten to hit record on this, and we had a really awesome conversation. How do we recreate this?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It never happens.
No,
Never
definitely
happens.
not.
Nobody
Definitely
ever
not.
does anything like that.
No. I mean, we certainly have never done that before.
Or lost a
Yeah.
whole episode. It just never happens.
Ooh, I'll tell you. These are some of the things that I have nightmares about. But anyway, Hustle and Brews, episode 23, the first edition of Hustlers Brews with Anthony Tank Mansfield. Check it out. Follow him online at What You Into, or at
Neil to No One.
Follow his podcast, What You Into. And you probably can't find any Rants and Rabbit Holes beer anywhere, but if you do happen to see some, give it a try, and
Fingers crossed they come out with a version 2.
that would be awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be
that
super
would be.
awesome, yeah.
And a big part of it was obviously the collaboration with the team members on his podcast.
Yeah.
They come out with version 2.
Yeah.
Who are they going to talk to next?
Ooh, yes.
So let's stay tuned for that.
And will they start bringing gifts?
Yes.
So, speaking of Caroline.
I am empty-handed today.
That's fine. Because you tend to like to bring ice.
This is true. Be careful what you wish for.
Smirnoffs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was great. Where should we go to next in the podcast recap sphere?
I can't pick everything. I'm terrible at making decisions.
What do you say we knock out all things Dayton Brewcasty?
I'm
Okay.
good with that.
I didn't really say the name of a podcast, so I don't know if we need to cheers. What do you guys think?
I think we should cheers.
All right. Cheers.
All
Prost.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the Gnome is getting a little annoyed with me because I was like, I'm going to get all the social engagement yesterday. I was like, I'm on my phone. I'm just going to comment on everything.
On everything from everywhere.
And I was like, you're in Dayton again? Cincinnati misses you.
It's true. But he has covered almost everything there is to cover so far in Cincinnati craft beer. So I suppose that an occasional deviation into the world of Dayton. This one really wasn't Dayton Brewery or anything, but into the world of Dayton. I guess we can forgive him at least once or twice. This was episode season 9, and I did not write the episode number down, but you can find it.
4.
Was it episode 4?
It was either 3 or 4.
Okay, we'll go. Actually, I can always just like.
Let's go with 3.
Oh no, it's actually episode 6. If I just turn back one page in my notes where I have last week's episode written down.
Oh,
Season 9, episode 6.
my bad.
Exploring breweries with Blake and Noah from Blake the Brewery Explorer. So this is again the Dayton Brewcast because Gnome he lives close enough being up there in Hamilton. So I mean, I guess why not just step a couple feet farther than his own backyard and just stay in Dayton for a while. It's fine.
It's easy enough drive.
They met up at Toxic.
Toxic Brewing, yep. Is it Toxic Brewing or Toxic Brew Company?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. It's in Dayton. It's not Cincinnati.
Right.
So I'm not giving that too much thought.
You can Google it.
We could.
You, the
You could.
listener.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. Not
Figure it out on
certainly
your
not
own.
us.
Our hands are tied.
Yes. So he talked to Blake Long. I just words.
Just Blake.
Just words.
Blake, the Brewery Explorer.
He talked to Blake, the Brewery Explorer. Thank you. I'm just gonna let Caroline do all the talking because I'm not doing it well. I don't do the words good tonight for some reason. Blake has a social media presence and just started a podcast that Noah Jones is producing for him. It sounded like in the conversation, a lot of the idea of the podcast was Noah's, and he just was able to find Blake to be kind of the spokesman or the spokesperson, the host
The
of
conduit.
the show.
Yeah.
The conduit.
It was
of
I
all
have
things
this
beer.
really great idea, but I don't have the knowledge to execute it well.
Yes.
Who can I get on my team?
And I don't want to be the one to speak all the time about all the things. So, Blake, let's do this. See here. Noah is a huge Hefeweizen fan.
Right.
It is his favorite style of all
Tis the
time.
season.
He pretty much said that every other beer style makes him gag.
I mean, you some people have a niche, and that's okay.
True. But how many beer styles are there that, and I feel like, Marco, this is a little bit of an unfair question to ask you just
Okay.
because some styles you just
Can't have.
can't have. Are there any beer styles you can think of that the thought of imbibing in them at all just makes you feel physically ill?
Beer can chicken.
Not.
Beer can
Good.
chicken beer.
Yeah, you know?
I haven't had that yet.
I haven't
Which is
either, but I'm not
surprising.
And I'm not going to.
That's
Purdue
more
beer
a thing
can
with
chicken beer.
liquors. And
Okay,
I don't
okay.
know if it's because I've had like nights with I have had too much of this one liquor and the next morning has been terrible versus like if I drink a lot of beer, it's usually I have like 6 or 7 different
Gotcha.
styles of beer, so it's not like one was the perpetrator of the
Gotcha.
night.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I can't think. I mean, there aren't any styles that I think of that I immediately go, oh, absolutely not. So that's fair. But I mean, yeah, to each their own. For some people, it's, I don't know, expanding that realm is not for them, and there is nothing wrong with that. Blake started this back in 2021 with social media. The podcast started earlier this year. They're on episode 4, I believe, 4 or 5.
That's what he.
They're
it
on
sounded
episode 4.
They're
Yeah,
correct.
and
correct.
they've recorded like episode 5 and or 6 is what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Crooked Handle
They're
came
ahead
out
of the
today.
game.
Okay.
Yes. Let's see here. What do I have here as far as notes go?
So my favorite quote from Blake, and I tried to explain it to Joe, but since he hadn't listened to the episode yet, it didn't make sense. He said something very close to along the lines of, when we've got an episode where everything goes right, then we will like start making more, like start improving aspects of the podcast that we think aren't quite there yet.
Right.
And then I just started laughing in podcaster because there's always
something. Yes.
Or you
Yes.
have like a unicorn episode where everything went right, and then the next episode you're like, wait, where did all my buttons go?
Yes.
What happened to my flash drive? Let me figure this out.
Yes. Yeah, they're still pretty new into the podcast game, but I think that they're doing a really good job of getting to meet people and talking to people. I mean, their very first guest for their very first episode was one of the head brewers at Mad Tree. I mean, that's one of those almost unicorn situations where, holy crap, we just kind of stumbled into this, and it's absolutely amazing.
Well, it was the beer community is very welcoming.
Oh, absolutely.
More so than some other communities are, as far as
Yeah.
like yeah, there's a little bit of competition there, but it's not like we're at each other's throats.
Sure, we're always encouraging anyone, like, we've said on our show, Gnome said on his show, I think you guys have said on your show. Yeah, if there's anyone that wants to start one of these things, like, we're more than happy to help and give advice on, okay, we learned the hard way, do this, do that. It seems like they have hit the ground running, and they're doing a great job with it.
And to quote Danny, rising ships raise all tides.
That is very, very
That's correct.
true. Only other notes that I had, Blake is a big seltzer guy. Maybe their next podcast spinoff is going to be Blake the Seltzer Guy.
Seltzer Blake.
Seltzer Blake.
Bat and Hefeweizen's all you can drink.
And then they talked about one of the things that I feel like they spent sort of the most amount of time with were places they felt didn't have a great vibe versus places that did. Like, how do you differentiate if you walk into a space, a bar, brewery, what have you? What is it about the space that sometimes you can just immediately tell something about this just isn't for me versus the place that you walk in and you're just kind of immediately...
Yeah, or like
this place is great, and I'm already part of this space's community, even though it's my first time here.
Yeah, or like what's more likely to have you come back?
Yeah,
like if you have
yeah.
a food truck versus in-house, how does that make it feel for you?
Right.
Or if like you have a very, I don't know, like a dive bar kind of feel versus your traditional like open air brewery kind of deal.
Yeah. Or even just if you walk in, if kind of everyone that's already in the location just kind of turns to look at you and then they just kind of turn back to their beer instead of, if the bartender doesn't say, hey, how you doing, welcome, and they just kind of like look up and be like, oh, not a regular. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely different vibes you get from different places, and they had some really good conversation about places they've been that made them feel both ways. So very, very cool. Definitely another episode of Cincy Brewcast to check out. And then check out Blake the Brewery Explorer as well. I know that they say they're on Spotify for sure, Apple, Google. It still doesn't show up in...
It does now.
Is it showing up now? Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right. We'll say that because they aren't Cincinnati-based and they're not always talking about Cincinnati breweries, it might not always hit our radar and our recaps,
Right.
but we'll keep an eye out, and when it fits,
Yep.
we're here for it. Do we want to stick to the Gnome train and talk about last night's The Weekly Pint?
Sure.
All right. This was episode... It's so weird saying episodes for The Weekly Pint anymore because for so long, it was not a show.
Well, he always numbered them, so at least they always had a number.
This is true.
This is the case that we brought to his attention.
Yes. Yes. And yes, he has a valid argument, but at the same time, come on. This was episode 171, back from Camping Time for Drinking. I don't think this is going to be kind of too long for us to talk about just because it was a lot of talk about camping, what he does, I don't know.
What he drinks, what he smokes.
Does a gnome poop in the woods?
Right.
No one's ever seen it. So, well, you know what? I'm letting that one stay where it is. I'm not doing this.
He also, along with smoking cigars, drinking beer, drinking all kinds of different things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Liquors, seltzers, beers, shooting guns. They have kids and they let the kids shoot guns.
I mean, how else are the kids going to learn how to shoot well?
You got to learn early.
You're not wrong.
It's important. It's very important.
Found out that he's a huge fan of the Swisher Sweets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kids-
they were asked, or did you ask what his favorite cigar was?
did.
Or what
I
kind?
did.
Yeah. And he was a little elusive when giving his answer.
It might
but we
not be a
eventually-
legal cigar. Might be why.
You know how? I mean, he has so many mini fridges. I mean, I had no idea. He had a mini fridge for cigars.
For a humidor, right? And of course, my thought then was
Who does that?
he talked about like bringing a bunch of cigars there. Did he bring the mini fridge camping? And then at what point? Okay, how many? You probably heard me set my drink down because this is an important question. How many mini fridges do you bring camping before you're not really camping anymore?
I'd say one.
That's my thought. If you're bringing a mini
at the
fridge,
very least, that's glamping.
right?
But
I don't know if he's.
I don't want to pack that in.
Camping. No, or
You
out.
think?
Because you pack it in, you pack it out.
Yeah.
If he's tent camping, do you think he's sleeping on the floor? Like on
No.
a sleeping bag?
I thought he said he had a hammock. But if he's got his family with him, he might be in a
Right.
tent.
Is
Or-
it tent? And I mean, but is it sleeping bag on the floor, is it an air mattress or does he have like a
If he's bringing a mini fridge, he's bringing like the cots and stuff.
Like
yeah.
yeah. Maybe that you put an air mattress on top of, because that's so much more comfortable.
Well, the
so
Gnome's
much
got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
He has got to be comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once you have like 13 generators and all that, it's just. I don't know. I don't
And then he
know if it's
also
actually camping.
takes
anymore.
time around the campfire to make up songs about his family members
Oh my
on
God.
his wife's side.
That was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know how his wife hasn't killed him yet. You can hear some of those songs if you re-listen or even re-watch this episode of the Weekly Pint.
Yes.
There was a lot of talk about what he cooked and what the other people that they camp with cooked. So if you're a fan of talking meat, this is like Arby's. It's kind of your episode. They have the meats. They
Yeah.
have all of them.
Meat and meat accessories.
Meat talking.
Yes. Gnome did say, because we did bring
Campfire perspectives. Meat talking.
I like it. Speaking of meat talking and campfires, beer can chicken came up, to which Gnome admitted he is not a scientist.
That's true.
Like, my world
He
is
admitted
just
that.
shattered. Yeah.
So to me, anyone can be a scientist. You don't need to have if you have any kind of curiosity, you are a scientist.
But
Like-
but are you no longer scientists? Like, is that kind of God-given right? That scientist card that you just described, does that get yanked the minute you say, I'm not a scientist?
I'm not sure. I mean, we could try to make a hypothesis about it, but I don't know if we've got time.
I heard what
sounds
you
very
did there, and
scientific.
I liked it.
Excellent.
There was actually a little bit of alcohol talk that was a little more in depth than just what Gnome drank. He drank all the watermelon beers while he was camping. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Funky Buddha has reacquired themselves from Constellation Brands, which that's interesting. We are seeing more and more of those reacquisitions happening, and I think it's hopefully going to be a positive thing for craft beer as a whole, and it's not just going to cause some of these brands to go back to being craft, locally owned, independently owned, and then they hit some sort of financial speed bump and they're gone. But is that any better or worse than being bought out by like Big Beer and having Big Beer pull that plug for you?
Well, do you think they bought him back to live out the rest of their life as that brewery owner, or do you think they bought him back to, wait for a few years and
resell
play
for
the
more?
hits
Yeah.
again? See if they can get bought.
This is true. You never know. Or as Marco likes to say,
You
never know. Sunny D Seltzer. There is a video in the works. This week, there have been multiple different perspectives on the Sunny D Hard Seltzer.
Maybe we'll throw our hat into the ring on that one.
I know that my
know.
Josh is interested to give it a try. As has been said, nostalgia is people's favorite flavor. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a Yoo-Hoo the other day, and I was like, this does not taste as good as it did when I was 8. Why did I like this?
Because it was chocolate-ish. And yeah.
I feel the same way about Shoney's buffets.
Oh,
Like, it
Shoney's.
can't-
I haven't thought about that in
Can't be
quite
as
a
good
while.
as I thought about it when I was a kid.
No, definitely not.
Well, vacation helps out with that.
Okay,
The
this
only
is
time I've had it is on vacation.
Yeah.
be glad
Work out
for the
okay?
small favors. Yes.
The rest of the vacation go all right?
Yeah.
Took a day or two, and then we were fine.
There you go. There you go.
That's what I thought.
Last note that I had on this episode of the Weekly Pint: Gnome promised fun. He is promising fun.
I love
For the
when
next-
people promise fun.
So the next episode of the Cincy Brewcast will be fun. If it's not, send all your complaints to the Gnarly Gnome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better be.
Send big middle finger emojis.
Can you fax a middle finger? Can you? Like, how do you send a middle finger?
Probably.
Is there? Okay.
So
That
this,
should be science.
But you also need a time machine because you're talking about a fax. We're trying to update our health insurance information right now, and Joe's like, we have to scan this in, and I'm like, we don't have a scanner. What is this, 10 years
What is
ago?
this?
And then he's like, well, maybe they like need something else. I'm like, what? Do they want me to travel back to 1995 so I can fax this in? Because I ain't got a fax machine either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have.
Quick, Caroline, turn on Color Me Bad, and we all of a sudden will go back to a fax machine.
I remember picking up the wrong phone at my dad's store one day, and it's like, what is going on? Oh, that's the fax line. Whoops. I wasn't supposed to answer that one.
And now they have to try to rescan and resend the fax, all because you wanted to make a phone call.
Yep. Silly 7-year-old Caroline didn't know what was going on.
All right. Anything else from either of you on the Weekly Pint? It was a shorter episode. He got started a little late because of the whole camping situation, but it was fun. It's always a lot of fun if you're free on a Monday night around 9:30ish.
And who's not?
Right. Exactly. What else could you possibly be doing? Jump onto Facebook or Twitch or YouTube and chime into the chat, call the drunk line, and just hang out with us. Have a drink with everybody. Good times.
Yep.
We have 2 left. We have the Barstool Perspective from Brew Skies or the Craft Parenting Podcast. I kind of want to end with Craft Parenting Pod, but I want to give the rest of the table voting rights.
I'm good with that.
I think we should take a break.
That too.
You are right. Glasses are empty. My bad. I did not notice. All right, guys, we'll be right back. We managed to make it back. And I'm a slow-ass drinker, as you all know, so I still have the same thing in my glass, which is fine. I'm enjoying it. But, Caroline, you have a fresh pint of something that looks very delicious.
Yes, I have the Young's Double Chocolate Milk Stout by
nice.
Eagle.
Nice. And, Marco, what do you have in your glass?
I have Playa del Mundo from Toppling Goliath, which is a collaboration beer.
Oh, really? Who's it a collab with?
It is...
You knew I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
You just had it pulled up.
It is with... Oh, please.
This is why we need a producer.
I mean, Marco wasn't ready, which means I am.
With Mundo Maya Brewing Company of Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Cool.
Ooh, that's a far collaboration.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
They had to fly over to the wall.
Oh, you're killing me. Let's see. We have Brew Skies, their YouTube series, their weekly beer news series, Barstool Perspective. This is covering the past week, although it's dated May 29th. It came out a couple of days before that. I saw it, and it was not the 29th. So either they're doing some time travel shit, or they just...
It's time travel shit.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. There's no other explanation.
No. I mean, Brett has met Sasquatch, so it's definitely some time travel shit.
Some would say that encounter caused him to almost become Sasquatch. Yeah.
It's like Tim Allen with the Santa Claus thing.
Oh God, yeah. So are you saying that Brett is the woodsy Santa Claus? I don't know. I'm trying to make a correlation between Sasquatch and Santa, and the S's in the name are the only thing that I'm coming up with, which is terrible. This is awful. Glad we're on TV.
We need more beers, and then you would have better ideas.
And I would have better ideas, yes. And also beers that aren't sour, because sour beers just dry my mouth out and make me do nothing but stumble over words that I couldn't say right anyway, let's be perfectly honest.
Well, if I don't want to accidentally drink a whole beer in 3 sips, a sour beer is great for that, because you can only have so much at a time.
Very true. And the dog agrees. One of my favorite things about this series is watching what changes in the background from week to week.
Yeah.
Because there's always something different going on there. Not a lot. They're tiny little shifts and things.
They moved the coffee maker.
They moved yes. And the boards that were leaning against the wall are either gone or they've just shifted position from week to week. So it's where are they? What is happening? It's
time travel?
Oh my God, it is time travel.
They're keeping up the ruse of coffee cups, though.
This is true. They do still have the coffee cups, and I don't know. We're on to you guys. We know better.
That is not coffee in those cups.
Well, it's the Zoom meeting trick. You take a mug, you tape a little tea bag label to it, and you fill it with anything that's not tea. And then everybody thinks you're drinking tea on your Zoom. Just every once in a while, blow on it like it's hot, and you're getting drunk on company time.
There you go.
Have you not done this before?
Okay.
Maybe.
Pro work tips from Caroline that you should not follow.
I am not responsible for any legal, financial, or medical trouble you get into for taking my advice that is not advice.
Oh, man. Mike was very, very sad about the news of Bud Light's, kind of financial situation.
And by sad, we mean
Oh, my God. He was so incredibly joyous about the news that it's like, yeah, they're still kind of tanking. They have alienated almost every single customer base that they had.
So my take on that is they were trying to get a new audience, but then completely alienated their whole audience in the process.
But the thing is, it was just fake. It was a phony. It was a phony outreach.
Yeah.
Like they flat out used somebody who was standing for a real purpose, only to gain a faux social credibility that they really could give two shits whether they earned or not.
Right.
And that's more of what Michael was basking in, is the fact that this faux activism actually came and is biting them in the ass, to the point where they are giving this beer away for free.
Yeah, people can't sell it.
There is free with rebate, a 100% return of all funds. It is terrible beer, and also terrible socially. And then now the fact that they can just give beer away with trying and hoping to gain back market share. There are some things that people can forgive and forget. There are some things that people don't forgive and just forget about. I don't know where this is going to end up, but so far, this is something that's been in the zeitgeist for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks now?
Yeah.
I mean, I can go to a Kroger and I see cases of Bud Light, and there's like maybe a case of Coors and maybe a case of Miller.
Right.
And like the Indy 500 just happened. And while I do not religiously follow the Indy 500.
Oh, come on. Really?
I mean, I should, but I would say that I'd say it's probably 50-50 beer consumption between Bud Light and Busch Light, and then the other 10% is other stuff.
Coors.
All of the photos that I saw of the Indy 500, I didn't see a Bud Light can anywhere. Now, I saw tons of passed out people with like Busch Light and seltzer and everything else under the sun, but I did not see any of those famous blue cans.
So kind of talking about, trying to find that thing that is what's going to make them, the most popular, the most money, like what group do we kind of go after, air quotes, next. That tied into kind of my next note of something that they stated on about kind of this whole thing. Murder is more acceptable than being inclusive. Which was...
I mean, why did you murder them?
Well, but
maybe
but
you
again,
had a good reason.
But again, even like just causing a death is somehow more socially acceptable in some of these spheres than being inclusive is, and that is absolutely ridiculous and just kind of a sad state of the affairs of some of these companies. They're willing to turn a blind eye on this, but holy crap, heaven forbid you try to do
Is that surprising, though, unfortunately?
Well, no.
I mean, unfortunately...
No, I guess not.
With
The bottom
caveman,
line is what matters in the end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with this unfortunate proliferation of caveman knuckle draggers that are out there that, just can't let people be and live their lives and be happy with the way they want to be happy with. I mean, this isn't a surprise, right? I mean,
no, it's
somebody comes out as gay in the NFL, they're not in the NFL anymore. And it's just, this is unfortunate but not surprising.
Right.
I can't believe that they're surprised at how much attention and backlash this is actually getting. What's also unfortunate is the other retailers that are choosing to pull back and refrain or get rid of or just reduce the amount of pride that they are showing at their establishments, whether it be from a merchandise perspective or from just a social media just pronouncing perspective. This is unfortunate that that these loud, insensitive, and just total backwards hicks are driving this this community that wants to be heard and accepted. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. To kind of turn into a bit of financial advice that was given on this episode, Mike invests heavily in wine, and so should you. So be sure to take all your financial advice from Michael D. Morgan if you're looking for a way for something to do with your money. Actually, give your money to him, and he will invest it for you.
Yeah, in the Chinese wine market.
Yes, that's probably the best thing to do. Give Mike your money.
I think Mike would
He'll
agree.
handle it from here. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, you let
absolutely.
it age long enough, and it can sell at an auction for ridiculous amounts of money. But then you're just kind of that helps out your grandkids more than you.
Very true. Very true. There was some kind of speaking of that, kind of rolling into the talk about selling bourbon or bottles of bourbon in Virginia. Some of the language during that section was absolutely amazing. Don't want to give too much of it away, but there were phrases thrown out that much like Thomas the Tank Engine, there were some things that I never really knew needed to be presented to the world, and they did it. Urban Artifact has more employees than Sam Adams Cincinnati, which I guess when you think about it, it only takes a couple of people to push a few buttons. So
yeah, it's an enormous facility, though. That is kind of that is kind of eye-opening. That well, I don't think they were exaggerating. I think
no, I don't either.
Yeah,
is it brewery staff or is it staff
total
as a
number of
whole?
employees?
Because from what I've heard, the majority of the Sam Adams, at least production staff, is all on the bottling and the canning lines. They're not as many as in the brewery. The bottling and the canning is where the bulk of their employees are.
It sounded like total number of employees, but I mean, again, they really didn't dig too much into, they have this many. And I think they just meant the production facility, not counting the tap room across the street.
Is it 60
I'm guessing.
that you said, Urban Artifact? Is it 60 employees?
I thought you said 30.
30?
Yeah.
Okay. I doubled it.
That's a lot of buttons. Or did you?
Or did I?
Yes. You got to be strategic with the things that we say because we want to encourage you and
I'm sure they're
get
including the bartender that works once a month, but that's fine. They still count.
It's true. Everybody counts. Only had 2 other notes on this because, again, we don't want these recaps to be longer than the actual episodes that we're talking about. Amazon is investing in palm reading to buy booze.
Yes.
So look forward to that coming to your local Amazon retail space.
Call me now.
It's Miss Cleo. Yeah, good God. And their question of the week. Was it ours? You're going to have to listen, well, I guess watch, in order to find out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could have been ours.
It very well, it could be.
Could be.
Could be. Could be. Could have been. And also, does Mike like Malort?
Watch for that.
I'm
Caroline?
sure. Yeah.
Malort?
Malort, yes, no?
I have not had it yet.
Oh, let's do it.
Oh.
Well, not here, but
Yes.
not now. But.
Everyone's still good on beverages so that we can go through the Craft Parenting Podcast?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, awesome. Episode 103, Bottle Shop Talk at Delhi Liquor. The title was much longer than that. I just didn't feel like writing the whole thing down. But I joined Caroline. I'm sorry, Caroline. We haven't done that nearly enough this episode, and
No,
I
we
feel like we're
It's a miss
letting
on
you
our
down.
part.
It
I
really
think
is.
Joe needs to put buttons on our board because that is not yet a button.
What?
We do
What?
have that button though.
What?
We do have I say we like we own the board too. Yes, you guys have a what button, but you don't have a Caroline button.
No, well, I'll get him to get on it.
Joe.
And we do also have that's some insane shit.
Yes, I do like that one. That one is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, first and foremost, I kept this episode on track
We tried
the
real
entire
hard.
time. We never derailed.
No tangents
No
ever.
tangents. We never talked about squirrels or lawns or parking lots
Never.
in any way, shape, or form, unless it was related to talking about Delhi liquor and bottle shops, right? Yeah, exactly. Poor
Since
Marcus.
I have a couple of squirrel authorities here, I had about 2 weeks ago. It's not a squirrel. I had a chipmunk. I had a chipmunk dead in the driveway.
Aw.
It's weird. Got rid of that guy. About 4 or 5 days later, another dead chipmunk in the driveway.
I think it was the same chipmunk. It just came back to haunt you.
Oh yeah.
Could be.
I was wondering
Sounds legit.
if it was maybe a neighbor and it died in their driveway,
And they just flung it
and
into
they
yours.
dropped it in my driveway.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, that sounds like a chipmunk that died of natural causes versus
Well,
like
or you have
getting eaten by something.
or you have like a neighborhood cat or something that's like leaving you guys gifts.
Yeah, cats do that when they think that you're a really bad cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So Marco is now a cat.
sweet.
We have spoken it into existence. It is now fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
arigato.
His ears are getting pointier by the second.
It's true.
I
I'm
don't
waiting for
need
the
that.
whiskers to spread.
I don't need that.
We talked about the theme was bottle shops, but most of the talk was about Delhi liquor specifically, which was
Yeah.
fine. I mean, I think there was a good amount to
Are
talk
you
about.
kidding?
With that.
You mean you guys got together at a liquor store tap room on the west side, and you decided to just talk about the west side the whole time?
Yes.
I mean-
While we parked in places other than
That's
our
crazy.
driveways. Thank you very much.
That's crazy.
It's a really great space. I mean, it was a
It
lot of
is.
fun to go there. Josh and I've been there a couple times. It was your first trip to the tap room, so that was fun to talk about and your experience of. Let's see, are they open when we want to record? Are they not open when we want to record?
The answer is no, because the tap room is not located attached to the bottle shop.
It's attached by a ceiling.
Yeah, it's attached by a ceiling and a wall.
But it's yes.
But you go out.
That's some real west side shit.
It really is.
No. You need to go to the
You need to go
pole
around
barn.
the back. You need to go past the pallets and boxes, down a staircase on the outside of the building, in through a door,
Yeah.
down another staircase, and then you're in the tap
Yeah.
room. Or you could just drive around to the back of the building and check to see if the garage doors are
Where the
open.
vinyl sofa is outside, it's right past it.
Oh, you
Hey,
saw
it's
the
a
sofa?
very comfy sofa.
It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, you get a couple beers, you just, pop them open and sit down on the sofa, have a great time.
Yeah.
Indoor furniture can become outdoor furniture
Especially
if all
when
you
it's
do
vinyl.
is place it outside.
Yes.
And what's funny is they don't use ashtrays. Somebody just starts a cigarette hole in the arm, and then
it
everyone
grows.
just ashes right in the cigarette hole.
Yeah.
So for a non-tangent, my father-in-law is cleaning out his parents' house right now. And of all of the things that he brought home, one of them was an ashtray. But this is not just any ashtray. This is a 1.5 foot tall ashtray that looks like a vase, has a little shelf with fake grapes on it,
Oh, nice.
My
and-
grandparents had one of
and
those.
some rocks. And so what you do is, I guess you tap out your cigarette on the top, and then there's a handle that you can push down, which causes a lid to open and then the inside to spin.
It's like a cigarette genie.
Yeah, so what he would do as a kid is he would take the rocks and spin them around in the cigarette in the ashtray.
It's a rock tumbler.
Yeah.
And so he brought it home so my kids can play with it. And I'm like, your wife has bought my kids 30,000 toys. No, they do not
No.
need this.
I
But
actually
it's the
thought.
left side, so
They
we
need
need
the
it.
cigarette
Right.
genie.
I actually thought when you were talking about the vase shape, I thought you were going to say it was actually an urn. And it was going to be, those are different kind of ash in there. Oh, God.
Yeah.
We're going to be haunted for sure. There were some lawn and garden tips from the two of us, who we both are very good at growing and keeping plants alive, we found out.
I am the best. Those
So
tomato
good.
plants have
Yeah.
totally thrived and not completely died.
The
and you
maters.
haven't replaced them 3 times, hoping that Lily won't notice that these are new tomatoes.
Lily forgot about them, so it all worked out.
So, kind of on the actual topic of the subject of the podcast, we did discuss what the difference is between a bottle shop, a brewery, and a bar, which I thought that was really neat because I'd never really thought through how I separate them before until that question was posed. And turns out I don't really know enough about bars to to be able to explain that part of it super well. You know, like,
it's been a very hot second since we have spent time at just a bar.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like a bar and grill, yes, because we came there for food and then they also have alcohol.
Sure. But that was kind of not exactly the same kind of bar that we were, or at least how I interpreted the question.
Men know if they're in a dive bar because the toilet in the men's room is on like a 6-inch pedestal so that it's not a urinal, but it's higher than an average toilet.
Oh my God.
I do not want to know more about this.
I don't know why they decided to put the toilet on a wooden box.
Oh my God.
6 inches above the ground, but it's more for ease of use, I assume. And not
I'm
for
learning
sitting.
things today.
Not
Ooh,
for
not
sitting,
for
for standing.
Yeah, if you sit on a urinal, you're doing things very, very wrong. We also talked about how you can bar and brewery hop, but is bottle shop hopping really a thing? Because at a bottle shop, you can typically get the variety of things that you're looking for when you typically go bar or brewery hopping.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Would you ever bottle shop hop, Marco?
Yeah, let's get a bus together and let's go bottle shop hop.
So we'll hit up both of the higher gravities, both of the cappies. We'll do standard beer. We'll do BCs while they still are a bottle shop. What am I forgetting? I don't know.
Delhi Liquor. We got to bring
Delhi
Marco over to the west
Delhi
side.
Liquor, yep.
But it can only be between the hours of 4 and 8 on a few
On a Wednesday,
days.
Friday, or Saturday.
Yeah.
O'Brien's Liquor Store in
O'Brien's,
Landon.
yep. The beer market down there on 50. I haven't been there yet, but that's another one.
I don't know if that's a beer market or
I
a
know they have-
Mexican restaurant
Right,
now.
I know.
What?
Because, okay, so
Uh-oh.
we were going to go, and then I Googled it,
I knew
and
they
they're
had,
like,
like, a restaurant
we're
or
like, we're a Mexican restaurant. And I'm like, okay, we can't go
But-
with the kids until we figure out what this
What's
place
going
is.
on? Right.
Maybe I'll stop there on my way home today.
There's a place
Okay.
in, like, the not far from Kings Island. It's called Beerhead.
Okay.
I think
don't
it's
know that
called
I've ever
Beerhead.
noticed. Okay.
I don't
So
know
there
what
may
it
be
is.
there may be more bottle shops out there than what we're aware of, and some that we thought existed might not exist anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. We talked about how some non-alcoholic bottle shops are becoming a thing. Nothing local yet, but I mean, if some show up,
It sounded like there was one in Dayton.
What was that?
So-
Dayton, Ohio, or Dayton, Florida? I thought about
don't
that when I was
know.
re-listening, and we were talking about like, oh, there's one in Dayton. And I went because one of the other places we talked about was Fort Lauderdale. Was it? It was somewhere
New
in
York.
or
Like the one that I read about was in Manhattan, which makes sense because
Yeah,
you got a bunch of business people that have to do business things at all hours
Right.
of the day.
right. Yeah, when I re-listening to it, I'm going, shoot, Dayton. But was that our Dayton? Or I'm sorry, is that the Gnome's Dayton? Or is that like the Florida Dayton or some other Dayton? There are probably like 15 Daytons across the United States. It could be anywhere.
I mean, yeah. There's like 3 Cincinnatis, but there's like 20 Daytons in the United States.
Yeah. And then I only had one other note on this episode because you guys all need to listen to this episode and all the episodes of Craft Parenting Podcast. While Caroline and I are not medical professionals, we do share some secret tips about what liquor can cure anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
It's a proven cure if you take enough of it. It's either a proven cure or you just forget about any ailment that you have. We're not really sure which one, but it was definitely a really fun part of this conversation.
I don't
Did
know
you
what
find
the hell
out?
this place is.
Okay.
It's a bar and eatery. They have almost 500 bottles and 40 on tap.
Sounds like we need to take a field trip.
Let's go.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Get in the truck.
Get in the chopper. Or get
Get
to
to the
the chopper.
chopper.
There we go.
Oh. get to the chopper.
Oh my God, your impersonations are so good.
I have
love
a
it so
friend
much.
who taught his kid to say that anytime he saw a helicopter.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
I thought anytime I go up to give Vincent like a bro like handshake where
Yeah. It's like the vertical, not the horizontal. Okay,
yeah,
wait
like,
a second.
like the Bash Brothers type handshake.
Yeah.
Vincent, like I just stop and pause, and Vincent goes, "What's the matter, Dylan? CIA got you pushing too many pencils."
That's amazing. Oh my God, I love that so much. That is awesome. Well, Marco or Caroline, did you have any other notes on episode 103 of the Craft Parenting Podcast?
Just that Joe's schedule is a mess, because I think I said like 5 different times when this episode was going to drop, and it's not when it dropped. I mean, part of that was because we recorded an episode with Brock that was about a Mother's Day, that featured a Mother's Day beer, and he's like, well, now I got to bump this up so it's closer to Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And I was like, but we, okay.
But we said but we did the, you know what, in podcast time, none of it matters.
Well, and like the episode we recorded on Sunday, I was like, I don't know what episode we recorded before this, like what episode dropped before this, because everything was out of order. So you guys have it good, where it's like you record an episode, you release an episode. We record an episode, and I don't know when Joe's going to release it.
But it's not always that great, because we can't like record a bunch of episodes at in over the course of a week, so that we have stuff in the queue already in case something happens.
Yeah, this is also true.
We can't go bulk.
No. We might be able to do some like bulk
Come with
bonus
me if you want to
stuff.
lift.
Well, that is the nice thing. It's like, oh, we've got 3 episodes banked. We can take a week or 2 off and not have to worry about recording anything.
Right.
I don't know if we could do that. If I wasn't here on a Tuesday, I think my hands would start shaking.
Yeah, probably. I'd start it.
Get some withdrawal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you happen to like what we did tonight with our talk with Caroline, about all of the previous week's podcasts based on and around Cincinnati craft beer, let us know. We are at Truth Beer Pod on all the social media platforms. Send us an email, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. If you like us enough, you can give us money, and you can do that by going to truthbeerpod.com. Look at the top of the page, and you can either do a one-time donation through Buy Me a Coffee, or you can become a Patreon subscriber, and we're actually doing some bonus content for you guys. I am so sorry, but I think, again, we figured out the formula, so those should become a little more regular, which is what our original intent was. If you have any complaints about anything that we did, tag @RagingHop on Twitter, and he will compile them and let us know about them, and then we can laugh about them and share them with you as we get them.
Yep.
Other than that, Marco and Caroline,
Yep.
do you guys have any plans for next Tuesday?
I'm going to be here.
I'll
with
probably
you.
be playing outside with the kids.
Oh, there we go.
Fine. We don't want you here anyway. No, I'm kidding. We love having you here.
Recapping craft beer podcast with you.
Sounds good. We'll
Cheers,
see you guys
everyone.
next week.
Gross.
Cheers. Gross.